Good evening. So everything should be working now. Can you hear me and everything? I can see that the video is working. And the overhead shot should also work. Yep. Looking good. And is the audio low? Is the audio better now? Or maybe I should move the mic quite a bit closer. How about now? Yes, Mr. K. We're building a Mamba quad. So the quad is gonna be identical to this one, which is my current setup, which runs a Mamba 20 by 20 stack with the angle I can zoom in. A Mamba 2020 stack, the FC is the F722 Mini Mark II, which is of course an F7. No, it is M2 bolts, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it works for the stack because there's no load on that, so they're not gonna break. But it is a bit annoying having to carry around a Phillips screw as well. And the ESC is the F40 Mini Pro 4-in-1, which is 40 amps 6S. And the motors that we're gonna have on it is the X-Nova. Let's see here. The exact name is X-Nova Lite 2207 1950 kV. Receiver, Ghost, because that's what I use. I'm gonna sell this quad, more on that later. But I'm gonna build it with Ghost so that it's absolutely identical to my current setup. And then if I sell it to someone who wants FR Sky or Crossfire, I can switch to that before I send it to them. I will also test flight before I send it away. The camera I'm using is the Runcam Razer Nano 2. Just great picture and small size. TBS Triumph Pro with a UFL connector, because it's small, light, and performs good. That's about it for the electronics. And it's gonna look something like this. And the frame is, of course, Madkwads' new MAD-LITE, which is an evolution of the MAD-S. I have a half-built one here. And you can see the difference. Is that they have the same DNA. The MAD-LITE is just smaller and lighter. Quite a good bit lighter. I think it's 30 grams or around there. And I've flown nothing like it before. It's super easy to tune and flies absolutely amazing. And also I really like the Ghost mount for it, because there's no zip ties or anything. I can zoom in further, I think. So it's just a 3D printed part that's clamped down by the motor screw and then hugs the antenna. And then for the VTX antenna, it's just held in by the cable, and no zip ties. Instead, I've used these. Hang on. Bit hard to get this in focus. These tiny 3D printed parts, which clamp it down and holds it really securely. I just prefer this to zip ties because these ones are reusable. You can get the frame. Well, it says it's a pre-order, which it mostly is, on the madkwads.com website. Glenn, if you can send a link, that would be fantastic. But that's where you can pre-order it. There's a few left that will be sent out hopefully this coming week. I have the box of everything. I just need to package it and then send it out to those who have pre-ordered early. The rest of them will be delivered before the start of the 2021 season. Yes, we will also have a VTX antenna mount that is SMA. Glenn, I can't see the link. It might have been removed by the bot. I'll be right back. I'll send it from the other computer because otherwise I gotta reach over here. Be right back. There we go, that should be the link. Yeah, Mark, yeah, you have a fair amount of MAD-Ss. I think you're the one with the second most. I'm the one with the most, but I think that's quite understandable. And yours will be sent out fairly shortly, as soon as I package it. Of course, this whole build is sponsored by Elefun. They've graciously sent me these parts to build together and then sell the quad. And the money that I get from it will be used to improve the streaming setup. Now I have a good microphone and a fairly good camera here, but I could improve it with, for example, a capture card and better lighting, and maybe multiple cameras. And something I'm also thinking about doing is getting one of those ROTG receivers so that you can receive your analog signal and get it up on stream, so that I can stream when I'm out flying as well. Oh, Stefan, four MAD-Ss. I think that's more MAD-Ss at once than I've had flying. So you're leading right now. But maybe we should probably start with... well, I can start with disassembling the frame, so I can show the assembly of it. And right now there's no screws in it, and it's still holding up, even though I've removed half of the top plate. Yeah, Mark, I still haven't tried Falco or Flight 1. The deal breaker for me personally is black box, which is why I haven't gotten around to it yet, because I want to see what's happening in depth. But I will try it someday. Ooh, 6 quads at once. Are they all gonna be identical, Mark, or will you have some small changes to them? Like different KV or something like that? Because 6 identical quads, that's a lot, in my opinion at least. I'm personally aiming for 3 identical quads. Mostly because that's sort of the limit here in Sweden, and it is the limit in FIA events. Yeah, having 6 identical quads is a lot of work. I will show this process of assembling and disassembling the frame more in depth now that once I get it disassembled completely. Ooh, team racing. Yeah, we've been chatting about having more team races, well, not more, but just having team races here in Sweden for a few years since that race in, what was the city? In Sacramento. Since that Aerial Sports League, since Team Elefun was at that event. We absolutely loved that event. It was so much fun. And ever since then we've wanted to have a team race here in Sweden. But just haven't gotten around to it yet. So let's just line everything up here so I can zoom in and show you guys the parts of the frame. Alright, and then zooming in. There we go. Perfect focus. Okay, Mark, I'll just start with the most interesting part here. Should probably zoom in a little bit more for this. Going to manual focus, hang on. So as you can see, there's a hole in the arm on the right. And the arm on the left is supposed to go into it. So what we had the most issues with, or still don't have a lot of issues with, but well, the main problem with the MAD-S, where it broke most often, was out of the arms. And I can show you how that looked. It looked like this, where there were 2 fingers on each arm meeting right at the end. And what would happen with time, a lot of time, like half a year almost, of constant bashing, was you would sort of start to break these, and then you would lose a lot of stiffness out under the motor. And this is our solution to that. So now there's just 2 solid pieces out to the very end, and they intersect here inside each other. So to put these 2 together, you can't just put it through. You need to come in at an angle, and with the left arm here, I'd like to call it the hammerhead, because it kind of looks like the head of a hammerhead shark. You put that into this groove here until you reach the inner corner, and then you just tip it in. And then I go to the front, and then I twist it 90 degrees, so that we're now here. And then I just go in like this. And now they aren't perfectly in position now, and I can't really move them back and forth, because I'm not really sure how well this will show up on camera. But you have the hammerhead, and then it's really then it's thinner, and then it gets slightly wider. I'll try to find something I can point with. Here we go. So we are the widest out. We are the widest out here. Then we get slimmer And then we get slightly wider again. Are you guys seeing that? So this slightly thinner part here is so that we can turn it around, because we need to slide it in 90 degrees from how it's gonna be. And then once you've turned it 90 degrees, you can't slide it back and forth anymore. But you can sort of force it, and then you can move it back and forth again when you're in that slightly smaller area. But the motor plates here will help us align everything perfectly. And then just remove it. I think I should show this a few times so that it's more obvious how it goes together. We will also, of course, have an animation of how all of this goes together and a manual, just like we did last time, with really simple instructions. You just have the two of them, join them together like that with the notch and then a thinner part, slide it over, turn it 90 degrees, and then into position. I've swapped an arm. The first time I tried it, I did it in 4 minutes and 20 seconds, I think, or somewhere around there. And then the second time, which was the worst case scenario, which was under the camera, and this arm, it took me 3 minutes and 20 seconds to switch an arm. So it's not that long. My goal is usually under 5 minutes. Like it cannot take more than 5 minutes, because then at a race I'm done. But the time is far shorter than that. If I train it, well, you just do that by flying it and having to switch out parts sometimes. Then I could probably do it in 2 minutes 30 seconds under pressure. Another thing we changed about the arms is that they aren't symmetrical. As you can see, of course, there's two different types of arms. In the MAD-S there was only one. And so on this side here, it's just flat, just like on the MAD-S. But on this side we have a notch inside of it. And that notch is gonna be towards the top plate or the bottom plate, so that you can run a zip tie through the arms, so that if you remove both the top and bottom plate, the arms will still be attached to the center plate, so it's easier to work with if you want to go that route. Personally, I haven't used the zip ties yet. I just personally don't really see the need for me, and I'd rather save that tiny bit of weight. And you can always add the zip ties if you need them when you're repairing. Then just normal 3D printed parts. Here's the antenna holder for the Ghost. So let's build it. I'm gonna make sure now that I build it the same way as my current setup here, because you can put the arms in different ways. For example, here I have the front right arm is going down. You could also have the front left arm going down. And this is just how I've always built mine. There's no real difference between them. Now, I almost tried to put this one in the wrong way, with the notch towards the center plate. It will not fit at all. So I just need to switch it around, which is easily done. now we just need to get it into the slots. It is a bit fiddly because I'm not in. I have my arms like almost extended to get them in shot. So there we have one pair done, and then I will add the motor plate at once so that we get everything perfectly aligned. It can be a bit tight when you're doing this the first time, but it is really satisfying when you click everything into place. Have I done anything wrong? The tolerances out here are really tight because we need to have that for this connection here to work well. So the first time you're doing this, it's a bit fiddly. So I just move the arm out of the slots in the center plate to try and get this lined up before I put it in. There we go. It was easier to do it when it was outside. Not really sure why. I blame that on the demo effect. Whenever you're showing something, it's not going how you planned or practiced. And that's just how it is. There we go. Just need something to push against. And this plate here isn't symmetrical, as you can see. The sides here are concave, while the front and back are convex. Double checking here on, yep, front left is going up. Oh, it's so satisfying to click the parts in. If you have any questions or anything, just fire away. I think I'm gonna have to do this here with them off of the center plate. When I built this one and when I assembled this one dry before, I didn't have to do this. It worked by putting them in the center plate and then the motor plates. But not this time. The weight of the MAD-LITE it depends on how you measure it. It is fully built with this quad here is 263 grams, and with everything, oh, I can't even remember it. It's on the product page. I can't remember the English name, but it shows the different weights with different ways to measure it. For example, if you include motor screws or not motor screws. and the weight we list is always the very heaviest weight, with like everything included, except for stack screws, because that's something we can't control, because in the MAD-S everything's built from the center and out. So if you have a thicker stack, it will vary quite a lot. It is not thick, quite the opposite. And remember, the weight that we list is with battery strap, and the battery strap itself is 7 grams. I haven't done a metric ton of testing, but so far it's holding up great. So, and what we expect is for it to be the same or even slightly better than the MAD-S in durability, which is what I assume you're asking. Due to it being lighter. If the quad is lighter, there's less energy behind it. And less energy means less stuff broken. Struggling a little bit here. And on the racetrack, it's an absolute monster, this thing. Oh, did I do this the wrong way? Oh, hang on. So this is the front, and those motors are lowered. The MAD-S was stretch X, and this one is 2 millimeters more stretch X, and it's also Z frame. So the front motors are lower than the back motors, which is why we have asymmetrical arms. Yeah, I built this. Ooh, 375 grams on a Source 2. Is that with that has to be with a GoPro? So let's make sure I get this right now. So it's that way, and then this one is gonna be that way. The carbon here is the same as in the MAD-S, so it is higher quality than anything else, and also optimized for this design. Let's see here. The reason that we're doing pre-order is to make sure that we produce enough frames for everyone that wants one at launch. Because that's something we've historically had some issues with, and it's with producing the carbon fiber plates. It's no cakewalk to design and manufacture this carbon. The camera mount is sadly not compatible with the MAD-S. It was something we wanted to do, but we couldn't do it with the goals that we set. And the MAD-LITE is only nano cameras, so only 16. No, how? I think they're 16 by 16, or is it 12 by 12 millimeters? At least the smallest size that's now available. So the Run Camera Racer Nano 2 works. Oh, are they 14 by 14? Yeah, 14 by 14. What do you mean, Kalle? Do you want me to throw it or something? That won't really show anything, because when you're crashing with a quad, it's in over 100 kilometers per hour, and I sadly cannot throw that hard. But if it would prove anything, sure. Or no, I will not fly the STC UTT track anymore. I've flown that track far too much. But I will happily send it into a wooden gate or maybe a parking garage, because it's easier with lighting and everything, because the days are so short now. So I will use this quad, not the one that I'm building right now, to send into a pole or something in a parking garage. Donald, how is it that heavy? I used hand lotion before I started the stream, and Carmen is all slippery now. There we go. That's the final arm pair. Disclaimer, it usually doesn't take that long to build. I'm a bit distracted now with this. Hang on now. Something's not right. Or am I just incredibly confused? Oh no, I think I just put this one the wrong way. Because the back motors are supposed to be raised. Yeah, I just put it on the wrong way. I usually build it with the arms on the center plate and then the motor plates, but I couldn't get that to work now, so I do it the other way. And this here might be a better way to show where you can put. Hang on, maybe I should raise the wrong way. There we go. So now it's very bright. You can put a zip tie right through here so that the arms are held together. Well, when you have no top and bottom plate. But it's still quite solid here. The arms aren't falling apart. So now we can move on to the stack. Oh. And it is a standard Mamba 2020 stack. Nothing really special about it. But we will have to remove these. I always remove these stickers, because otherwise I will find them somewhere where they aren't supposed to be, about a year later or something. An interesting thing about this FC is that it has a heat spreader on... hang on, let's focus on that. It has a heat spreader on the CPU, the F7 chip, because those usually get really hot on these small 20x20. Previously I've had quite a lot of over 70 degrees Celsius warnings when I'm just sitting around waiting for the start of a race. So this will help mitigate that. Now we gotta make sure that we orient the quad the right way. So the front motors here are lower than the back. So if we build it the wrong way, we gotta rebuild it then. So, and the way I build my quads is I have the battery cable coming out the back left, and then the antenna on back right, and VTX antenna here. And that's how I built the MAD-LITE from the beginning, and that's how I'm gonna keep building this quad. And to help me, what's the word? To help me make sure that I get the orientation right, I use electrical tape. And let's see here, do I usually... No, I haven't put the cap there. And put a lap of it where the battery cables come out. It's just cheap insurance to make sure that the battery cable doesn't get ruined by the carbon with time. It would take a long time, but it's just, yeah, cheap insurance to make sure the quads work optimally for a long time. And then the MAD-S and MAD-LITE are also a bit weird with you putting the ESC on top and the FC on the bottom, as there's two levels of the frame. So the stack is built around the center plate here, and you have 10 millimeters on each side. So I'm just gonna thread the FC through. And let's see here. And the stack is also turned 45 degrees to make the center pod smaller, and also let you access the USB port. Because if it was 90 compared, well, just normally, then you would of course have an arm here that wouldn't let you access the USB. The only thing you have to remember is in Betaflight you have to change the rotation of your stack or FC gyro, because otherwise it will flip on takeoff. That's also one reason why I build all of my quads the same way here. then it's always the same settings in Betaflight. I know to just put that in and it's gonna work. Now I need to find one of these small nuts. And a small Phillips screwdriver. And these screws are 1 or 2 millimeters too short for me to be really happy with them. They still work quite well, but I would just appreciate if they were slightly longer. Yeah, Mark, I also really like having the stack built sort of from the middle. It gives you a lot of freedom to do stuff. And also you have quite a lot of space around, well, not as much space in the MAD-LITE as you had in the MAD-S. But still a fair amount of space to put other stuff around it, like the VTX and the RX. They aren't put on top or bottom of the stack. And something you should never ever do is put something on top of your FC, like sticky tape to the FC. Nearly dropped this nut, which would be a nightmare because they're impossible to see once they hit the floor. So just threading on the nuts on the screws. Something that's nice about this stack is that the soft mounts are pretty much the perfect length to just put the soft mounts right against the carbon. If you don't have any soft mounts there, you will just short out the stack to the carbon, as carbon fiber is conductive. This Mamba ESC is the F40 Mini Pro. Can zoom in on that. It's in the Facebook event as well if you want to copy it. Come on, camera, you can do it. Not really clear, but oh, yeah, last nut should go on now. And now I double check that everything is in the correct orientation. And it is. Just for convenience sake, I'm gonna put the bottom plate on. No screws, just clip it on. It's gonna be there with friction fit. Because what I want to do now is the motors, and for those we only need access to the top compartment, which is the ESCs. I can't really raise the volume anymore unless I raise the gain on the microphone, but then we're gonna get background noise. You can just raise the volume on the stream. Ponkios, you might have the volume lowered on YouTube, so you can do it inside a video as well, and that won't be connected to anything else on of your audio on the computer. Alright, so now we're finally onto motors. X-Nova 2207, 1950 or 1900 kV? I think 1900 kV, because the heads-up motors that are I think based on the same design, pretty much, is 1960 kV. And I forgot to prepare a screw kit for this, so I've got to go straight to the source. And I want your guys' opinion. Orange standoffs or black standoffs? That's up to you. So, black or orange. They look a bit gold on camera, but I promise you, they are orange. And now, because I'm lazy and I can, I'm just gonna take too many screws and then put back the ones that I don't need. Once you get a frame, it's gonna have the exact amount of screws you need, of course. It's just me forgetting to prepare for this. The screws are exactly the same as in the MAD-S, so they are interchangeable. And these black screws are for the camera mount. They are the same material as the rest. 7075 T6 aluminium, which is the strongest alloy that we can get a hold of. Because I want to be on the safe side there and not say that they're the absolutely strongest, because I think there is one slightly stronger alloy. But that's ridiculously expensive. These ones are already expensive. Alright, I'm seeing more orange than black, so let's go with orange standoffs. There's only 8 standoffs in the center of the MAD-LITE compared to the 10 in the MAD-S. We also have a limited amount of orange standoffs, so they are kind of limited edition. Let's zoom out a little bit, because it feels a bit tight. And only 3 motor screws per motor to save that little extra bit of weight. And only 16 by 16 motors will fit. No 16 by 19. But most modern motors, or, well, I want to say all modern motors are 16 by 16. Was a while ago since I saw a new motor with 16 by 19. The motor screws What I'm really, what's the word? I really want to try a quad with no screws at all and as little glue as possible. I am certain that the frame will fly without the absolutely necessary screws. So of course you need screws for the stack, because you can't really glue the electronics in. But you don't need screws to hold the center together to be able to fly. It fits well enough together without screws. everything just clicks into place and then it stays there. That's something I'm gonna do in the future, just to try it. Because of course you gotta try it. It's a ridiculous concept, but I think it would work. And also motor screws, that we include those in the weight is one of the reasons why the MAD-S had a higher weight, a higher listed weight than most frames on the market. Because most frames don't include motor screws in their calculation of the weight, because it doesn't look as good. And most also don't include the battery strap, and sometimes not 3D printed parts. On the product page we have listed every single weight with well, with just the bare carbon, with the carbon and motor screws, for example, and then everything include the battery strap. You can look at that table at the product page. We also have a weight breakdown for what every single part weighs. We haven't posted that because it feels like it would clutter things up. If you guys would want to see that, let me know. I could post it. Let's see if I tightened all of them. Okay, so the motors are now on, and now I want to show you guys something. Let's see here if I can zoom in on this. So now it's more apparent that there's a slightly thinner part of the hammerhead arm, which is that gap you can see, where you can see the light through. But then further into the arm, where they actually intersect and meet, there you can see no light at all. So that's a complete friction fit, which is why it's so tight. And then also when you clamp the motor down, you ensure that they are one solid piece of carbon. And of course also here at the end of the arm, there's just two solid parts, so that those will be more durable than the fingers on the MAD-S. And now comes the fun part of soldering everything up. I'll be right back. I need to get rid of this lotion on my hands because the tape isn't sticking to me. Yeah, I realized after I said it how weird it sounded. But yeah, can't take it back now. Well, it's so cold here in Sweden now, so I get dry hands. When I tape the motor cables down, I make sure that they are flat against the arm and also in the same order. that they come out of the motor, so that they don't cross over each other. That makes it easier if I have to switch a motor, because, well, it's gonna spin the right direction from the beginning, so I don't have to switch it every single time I have to replace a motor. And also it's more durable, looks nicer. I also tried to line up the tape with the pattern on the carbon fiber here, so that you almost can't see it. So just when it switches from one of the darker squares to one of the lighter squares, that's where I have the tape. Just makes it less visible. Also taping the arms on, the cables on the inside of the arms, so that they're fully protected and will not get prop stricken, even in a midair. They're pretty much impossible to cut there. And that's all of the motor cables. No, we're not soft mounting with the tape, Salle. No. Don't start that trend again. Hang on, I could probably do this to get you guys closer to the action. Let's see if this works. That works surprisingly well with the autofocus. So now I can see and judge all of my solder joints. Let's go back and reflow the ones that weren't too pretty. And now, here's my pointing thing. We're gonna have a screw here for this hole, and you want the motor cables to be between the motor screw, the screw and the arm. Then I like to do something like this. And this is probably going to take a little while, because I'm going to do it one cable at a time. Also going to try to let you guys see it. It was maybe a tiny bit too long, and has a little loop here. But better too long than too short. Because if you're ever switching that motor over to something else, you're probably gonna be happy that you have a little too much cable. Yeah, please tell me if you think I can change something with how you guys are seeing this. Because it's quite a lot to juggle with both the camera and soldering here. That solder joint is not good. That's better. Alright, one motor down, 3 more to go. And here you can see that the wiring run is different compared to the other motor. So there's 2 different pairs. So if you're ever tearing down a MAD-S or MAD-LITE and the cables are too short, but they fit before, then you probably have the motor in the wrong spot. So you should move it not diagonally, but one of the other ways, I think. Not really happy with the length of this cable. Let's see if I can make it work. Nope, redoing that one. On this part here, it's a fair bit easier to make it look acceptable when you can do a little twist on it. But here, kind of have to just go straight in, or make it much longer and have sort of a straight 90-degree bend there. And here, just making sure that the lowest cable is the one that's the shortest, and then just center cable from the motor is the center pad. The VTX is going to be put beside the FC. It's a bit of a tight spot, but it does work. Yes, it is the Mamba screws that are in this right now. The shorter of the pair, the ones that actually come in the stack from the beginning. I would prefer screws that were just slightly longer, but what it is what it is. I'm too stubborn to buy M2 screws. Or maybe I can get M2 screws with hex head. Yeah, two-door, that's where I put it as well. For example here. Also here on the MAD-LITE. If I can get this to be still. This space here is smaller than this space here. So you, well, you gotta put stuff in the right place sometimes. Also, just thinking, I'm looking at my other quad here where we're gonna put a capacitor. Having a capacitor on the quad is very important. It helps with the tune and filtering because it removes electrical noise. But also for the longevity of your ESC. Ideally, I would like to run 2 caps on my setups, just because it's extra insurance and not a lot of weight. I haven't been able to fit it in this frame, but I haven't really had any issues because of only running 1 cap. In the MAD-S I'm running 2 caps and could run more. And my criteria is everything should be inside of the body. The only thing that should be outside of the main body is something that needs to be outside. For example, the VTX and the receiver antenna. Everything else should be inside so that it's as aerodynamic and durable as possible. You can always put caps and stuff on the arms, but that will compromise the aerodynamics. But it is easier to build that way, if you put stuff out on the arms. Also, you could put a PDB inside here. 30 by 30 does actually fit if it is a small 30 by 30. And that's what these holes here are for. They are 30 by 30. So that also gives you a size comparison in this frame. For example, we have one customer who wants to do a speed run with this, building a ridiculously fast quad with it. And his plan is to put separate ESCs on the arms, because he wants to run an incredibly high power setup. An advantage of the MAD-S and MAD-LITE design is you can run 2 batteries, one on top and one on bottom, if you want to do something ridiculous with power. And it might look a bit chunky when it's built and with the battery on top, but it is very aerodynamic, because under the props there's only, let's see here, there's only 4.6 millimeters of obstruction under each motor. Because each one of these arms are 2.3 millimeters thick. So to get the same aerodynamic efficiency on the arms, with a regular flat arm frame, you would need 4.6mm wide arm, which you're probably not gonna run because it's not gonna be torsionally stiff. There we go. Motor cables are done, and I'm happy with it. Could have been a little bit better here. That one's not that pretty, and neither is that one. And this one here looks a little bit kinked, even though it isn't. One thing to keep in mind, hang on, I'm gonna refocus, give me a second. One thing to keep in mind when you're putting the top plate on is that you don't, watch out so you don't squish the cables, which you can do if you're not careful. So let's move on to the battery cables. You do get a cap included with the Mamba stack. I personally don't use this one, as I buy other caps that I know are extremely high quality. I just don't know the spec of this one, so I don't fully trust it. Now we're gonna do, I can zoom out again. Now we're gonna do the XT60 connector, and I have a trick for this. So here I just have a helping hand to help hold things. And the trick is, if you're trying to just solder this one, it's quite hard to hold on to with just this here. Maybe I should zoom in again a little bit here. There we go. So if we try to just solder this one, we need to put quite a lot of heat into this connector. We can melt the plastic and then the pins are gonna be wonky. But if we just take a loose other connector, we can put them together and then we can heat it up however much we want. I'm gonna put my soldering iron on 400 degrees Celsius. Use a lot of tin. And these wires here are already pre-tinned. Can't really see what I'm doing here, so I need to move. Need to just re-melt all the solder here. There's my... Need to strip this one a little bit further. XT60's coming loose is not a fun thing to have happen in the air. Don't ask how I know. Yeah, the motors are up. It's normal like that. The only thing that isn't normal is that the ESC is above the FC. So that is the front. So the power cable is coming out back left. There we go, now everything's flowing together. Yeah, exactly, Donald. But you can do lawnmower mode with turtle mode. I've dug a hole on, I think, 3 different model flying fields here in Sweden. I want to apologize to all of them for making a hole in their nice grass area. But when you need to turtle, you need to turtle. Yes, the FC is upside down. It sounds weird, but there's nothing really weird about it in practice. You just gotta make sure you put it the right way up in Betaflight, and yeah, it's just in the configuration tab. You just put in some numbers. 45 degrees, because the entire stack is turned 45 degrees. So now the quad is straightforward, but as you can see, the stack is 45 degrees. The ESC is on top, and then the FC is on the bottom. But here you see the FC is the right side when we have the quad upside down, so it's easy to maintain. You just flip the quad upside down. Now, before we solder on the power leads, I want to solder on the capacitor. So this is a... oh, I don't actually know the brand of it. But it is a capacitor from Elefun, which is the sponsor of this stream. I'm also a sponsored pilot by Elefun, and all my stuff can be bought there except for a frame. And this is just one of the caps there, and it works really well. They actually have the specification of it listed right at the website, so you can get it. The reason I'm using exactly this one is because it's 10mm in diameter, which means it fits perfectly in the height, because you only have 10mm on each side for the stack. So in total you have 20mm, which isn't a lot, but because you have a fair amount of space to the side of the stack, it works. If anyone has any other questions, just ask away. And here we have the Biltema, which is an auto store or auto parts store that is both loved and hated here in Sweden. It's like AutoZone or Princess Auto, or whatever your local one is. And it's heat shrink with hot glue in it, which is perfect for providing strain relief. And just heat it up. Yeah, the slider is almost out. You can sort of slide it into place, and then once it cools, it will stay there due to the hot glue inside of it. Come on, lighter, you can do it. And I know that I'm gonna need to bend these quite sharply. Ooh, Donald, remind me at the end of the stream. I have a fair few of those caps, so I might actually do that. Okay, so now we need to mount this somewhere. And I have already done it on this one. It's mounted here, which is here on the top level. The way that I mount these is with electrical tape, because a zip tie, one, doesn't hold them perfectly, and two, is too thick in this case. And electrical tape is also, it looks better than zip ties. I'm much prouder than I should be that this build includes no zip ties. I don't know why, but it's just an achievement for me. Let's zoom out a little bit. Well, if you want nudes, you gotta join my OnlyFans. For caps, it's just a Patreon page. Wink, wink. Ah. Also gotta make sure this looks pretty. A good looking quad does fly better. Not due to pure performance, but because it gives you, well, you like it when you look at it, so you have more confidence and therefore fly better. And also people won't look down on you because your quad looks like crap. Paul, yeah, you're gonna put 4 separate ESCs on this one as well, and then, or well, like you did on the MAD-S, you just took 4 separate ESCs and just crammed them into the middle. It worked, but it was not pretty, not at all. Now we're nearly ready to... Oh yeah, I'm soldering again so I can use the zoom. a tip here is to use, solder the positive first. Because the negative is usually connected to a big ground plane, so it's gonna take more heat to heat up. And after you've done the positive, the negative will be easier because more of the board is already heated up. So it's just boop, easy peasy. And now that we've done those, we can do power cables. I want to put my own solder on this so that it mixes better. They are pre-tinned, but probably with lead-free solder, which is not the best kind. Come on, I don't want this big blob on positive cable. And now check for any shorts. Can't see anything. Everything looks good. Also, one thing to note. Oh, I should probably move that one out of the way. On the capacitor, there's one side that is marked with this big line. That is the negative side. If you if you mix those two up, you will get what Donald's monk wants, which is fireworks. I've done it once, only once, in my entire career of building quads. And it was actually quite tame because it was a small capacitor, but still. So now we're ready for a test to see if it will blow up. So everyone ready? Everyone behind cover? 3, 2, 1. Alright, everything worked. No smoke stopper, no need. It is a 470 picofarad capacitor. Well, it's quite rare that my quads blow up when I plug them in. It's usually after an incredibly hard crash. I'm thinking about how I should show you my cave of batteries. I just gotta show you this now. This might be a bit jarring because I'm gonna remove the camera from its mount here and show you my battery. My battery storage of dead batteries. Okay, let's see here. Let's see so I don't do anything stupid with any cables. Let's see here if I have it on this side. Yep, here you can see my camera unplugged itself. It should be back now. Yeah. Alright. So these are all my dead batteries. Every single one of them. And those down here are not in use, but most of them are probably dead because they've been charged for a long time. Yeah, just had to show you guys that. Oh, it unplugged again. I'm just gonna mount it back here. Yeah, it's a graveyard of batteries. It's a few years worth. And a fair bit of money just laying there. And also fire hazard if something starts. It is an old fireplace, so it is fireproof. But the gas is still an issue if it would start burning. Oh, did it unplug again? Come on. Camera, behave. Yep, it's alive again. Miljöstrom. It is 470 UF, and if I remember correctly, U is pico, or I'm not really sure. But of course, it worked. And now, just gotta double check. The ESC side is done, aka the top. Now I can put this side on and make sure I don't kink any cables. This here is fairly exact with how it should fit, which is why it's not going in. Numbers and things. At least it's not in inches or something like that. I could put a 5-volt cap on there. You get one with the bigger Mamba stacks, but not in this one. I don't have it on this other quad, so I'm not gonna put it on this one. I have tried it before. It helps if you have some issues. Haven't had any issues with this. Come on. Fit. I can't see why it wouldn't fit. More force. There's nothing crushed, so I actually have no idea why it's not fitting there. Haven't had this issue before. But it goes to show how tight the tolerances are. There we go. A little bit of force. Now Johan's probably gonna wince and then complain to me that I used a bit too much force, but it worked. Now to the fun stuff. Ghost, if I can find a receiver. Yeah, I'm sorry, Johan, but kind of felt the pressure of the stream there to just get it done. Ooh, 0.6 amps for 5-volt for all of that is not enough in my opinion. Let's zoom in here. Let's go double zoom. because this ghost receiver is tiny. Come on, camera, you can do it. Oh yeah, it's probably because it's not. There we go. So it is absolutely tiny. And the pinout is ground, 5 volt, signal and telemetry. And this telemetry is gonna go directly to the VTX, the tramp, so that they can communicate via their own unique protocol and directly to the Ghost transmitter module. And then of course it's only one cable to the FC for the radio control. And if we look here at the pinout, here on number 1 we're gonna put our camera, number 2 is VTX, number 3 is RC, but we're not gonna put the Ghost there. We're gonna put the Ghost down here on these 3 pads, because the Ghost connects to a TX pad instead of an RX pad. It's a little bit weird there when you're using the RXLR2 protocol for it, but that's the highest performance protocol that's available right now, so that's what we're gonna use, of course. Need to focus again. Come on, camera. Focus on the right thing. There we go. Xlora open source? I haven't heard of that. Could you tell me more? I really enjoy the Ghost receiver and system so far. It has beautiful integration into with the menus for the VTX and stuff. It's super easy to change channel if you're using both their VTXs, and the radio link is more stable than everything, well, anything else I've compared it to. Let's see here, I've used green on that one, so that's gonna be here. And that's only, well, so far it's only 222 hertz update rate. It can go up to 500 without any issues. Well, any issues for itself. The reason I haven't gone higher is that above that you're gonna start stomping on other radio control systems, which is gonna be the same with tracers, 250 hertz. They can both put it at pretty much whatever they want, but they're gonna stomp on other people. Mark, if you put a link in the chat, it won't show up to people. I don't know if you did or not. An important thing to do here is to twist the cables together. Makes them 1, look prettier, 2, more durable, and 3, more interference resistant. Now I'm gonna check how the other quad is made. We're gonna put the receiver here. And we can already put on the heat shrink so that that's done. This ladder is pretty much empty. Like completely empty. Might have to go with the backup strategy, which is sadly a candle. Oh no. I'm dumb. I forgot to solder the telemetry cable for the VTX. Oh, this hurts. Damn it. Why did I have to forget that? No, it isn't as pretty anymore. The reason I'm not heat shrinking this is because I don't have any more transparent heat shrink. And transparent heat shrink is really nice for receivers and VTXs so you can see what's going on. Ghost. Absolutely ghost. A large part of it, because I've tested it and I trust it. Another part is that it is Immersion that's made it. And they have a very good track record of having good firmwares. And TBS has a history of maybe not always having the best firmware. They take a long time to produce stuff, and sometimes it's not always stable. But I've used TBS stuff a long time. And that is just my personal opinion. But for me, it's Ghost. But we're gonna see in the future. They're gonna be put head to head at pretty much every single race. Because a lot of people are gonna use Ghost and a lot of people are gonna use Tracer. Just gonna put the receiver there with double-sided tape. And the antenna is gonna go out here. And for the antenna, we have this. Let's get the focus right here. Wrong way. Have this piece here that will hug around it and hold it in. Maybe not, yeah, this is the prettiest 3D print I've ever done, but it is functional. So it will simply go, should go click, if I can get it on. Yep, click. Let's go autofocus again. no, long cut is also gonna be going on Crossfire still. I can say that Ghost is far superior to Crossfire. A large part of it is that you don't have dropped packages, which means that you don't have issues with feed forward. If Johan is still in the chat, he can probably write something nice about the difference there. But I've never flown anything that's as smooth as Ghost and reliable. I've been how far was I think it was 200 meters away behind trees and hills on 10 milliwatts of 20 milliwatts of power on the TX, and no issues at all. I couldn't even feel any dropped packages or anything. The green cable we're gonna separate out because that's going to the VTX. Then we're just gonna go like this and go snip. And then because these are silicone cables, I don't need to strip them with a tool. Just use fingernails. As I say that, I struggle to do it. Yeah, I believe more in Ghost than in Tracer. It's also a better name. Tracy kind of sounds like a stripper name. But you didn't hear that here, okay? I haven't had a chance to try flying with a lot of other pilots on Ghost, but I don't believe it should be any issues as it is immersion and they have a lot of experience with large races. For example, DCL is helped by immersion, and it is also 2.4 gigahertz, which is a much wider band than 868 and 915. Oh no, I did this the wrong way again. I confused the colors of the cables. So it is the blue one that's going to the VTX, and the green one is signal to the FC. Let's just twist this one in here. But it's no matter because they're all so close to each other. The one going to the VTX is going to be even shorter. Yeah, but there aren't a lot of Wi-Fi routers out at the flying spots. Especially not where there's competitions, like at the model flying fields. If you're flying in an arena or something like that, yeah, sure. Then you're gonna have an issue, but then you can always just drop down to a lower update frequency and get the LoRa technology, and with LoRa you're pretty much gonna be fine. I personally have no trust for Crossfire anymore, so I pretty much had to switch from it because I didn't trust my radio link anymore. Which of course I did the wrong thing again. Soldered back on the blue. Not embarrassing at all. No, not at all. Okay, green. Green. Okay, green is tinned. Cutting green. And then soldering on the green. Green, yes. Not quite perfectly on. Green is on. Alright, so then it is the VTX. So here is the Tramp Nano. Most of you probably haven't seen one before, because pretty much everyone uses the TBS Unify. But this thing here, that is soldered on, you can remove it if you want. I'm gonna do that. It is the Immersion RC touch and raise wand thing receiver, which lets you use either their wand that they sell for, I think it's $100, or your phone to put the VTX channel without powering on the VTX, which is amazing. You don't even need to put power to it to change channel. And then it comes with a really short SMA cable, which I really like that it's so short. It's hard to find these short ones. But as we're gonna put a UFL antenna on, we gotta remove this lock here. I would prefer screws instead of this little locking doohickey. Mostly because I don't understand how this one works yet. But I'm gonna remove that one, and there's the antenna. Lowering my soldering iron to 350 degrees again, so that it doesn't get hot in the handle. Then just go click. Oh, sorry, that was out of frame. Just put on the antenna. Now for the lock on it, I turn the antenna that way. So that I have easy access here from the outer edge. And just push it on. And now it's locked. Let's see here how I've placed it. I have it placed over here in my other build. And it goes below those cables. I'm just threading the VTX through here, like that. Now we can use this pre-made bundle of cables. And the blue cable here, because the blue is to the VTX, not to the FC, which I soldered wrong before. And the pinout here is it written? Alright, yeah. So it is video, 5 volt out, ground, 5 volt in, and telemetry. One thing I dislike is that it only has one ground pad, so you have to solder 2 wires to that one ground pad, compared to the Unify, where you have 2 separate grounds. The advantage here is that you get bigger soldering pads. But still, it's a bit of a pet peeve for me. Let's see here. Oh, this lamp, its mount just got loose. I gotta mount it again. There we go. Alright. Yeah, I just realized something. I did this the wrong way. I need to remove the antenna again. Because I need to heat shrink this, of course. And to heat shrink it, I will have to have one side open. There we are. Remember, this quad will be sold at the end of the stream. And the proceeds of it will go to improving my streaming setup. So that I can produce better content in the future. Volt in. Ground. Oh. A bit of an awkward soldering position for me here. Then we're gonna need camera cables. Alright, you only get this short cable with where's 2 nano. The bidding will be in the event tab on Facebook. So I'm just gonna cut this connector off. Gonna have to splice another cable on.